This is part 2 in this series on building a new home in a subdivision in the Philippines. And I'm Eric with Island Expats, and I want to take you through this. Part 1 focused on Phase 4 of Royal Palms of primary homes in Panabo Hall. So if you haven't seen that yet, please go to the Island Expats channel and watch that one first, and then come back to this video. Because this video is going to focus on this new luxury subdivision called Ameria, which is located in Panabo City, which is about an hour outside of downtown Davao on Mindanao. This is a luxury complex built by Damosa Land, and going to give you a direct comparison. In order to do that, I'm going to use the top model in each of these two subdivisions and compare against each other, right? Now, their top model in this new subdivision is called Acacia, and it's a little bit bigger, about 35 square meters bigger. It's 232 square meters, and it comes on a much larger lot. So when we compare pricing, you're going to have to keep that in mind. This way, we can compare the top model from each complex and see how they cost out compared to each other. Now, let me just say up front, I loved this Acacia model. It was definitely more comparable to a luxury home in the United States, and it's pretty much the first time I saw a home that was laid out so well, I thought I could take this one and be happy with it right from the beginning without even making alterations. And the reason for that, in this particular model, the layout is with a lot of open space, and it utilizes the great room approach, which is kind of how housing has developed, at least in the US, where on the first floor, you've got more of an open space, a family room, a kitchen area. Maybe there's an island with bar stools. You have more of an open floor plan on the first level, and that's how this works. And because that's the main part of the house where you spend most of your time with your family, and if you have friends over and all of that, that's really where you're going to be. You want that as like the focal point of your house. And that's how this floor plan is set up, which is different than the floor plan back in Vista Hermosa, which is Grande, the big one, back in Panglao, right? That one had 6 bedrooms, and it really should have been 4. Now, in this Acacia model, the bedrooms are really spacious in this floor plan, especially the master, and would be my first choice if I wanted to pay this kind of a price compared to all the other new properties we've seen so far in any subdivision in the Philippines. Let's take a look at it. So let's walk through this house together. You've got these nice double doors when you come in at the entry. And then you first walk into, it's more of a rectangular space and then a slight L on the other side. But here is the main entry area, and then you can see the stairs that are going up. It's got nice side windows there, and then there's storage underneath the stairs. Now I'm walking towards the kitchen, and in a typical Filipino new construction house, the kitchen is not complete because you have to add all of the appliances. It does not come with the appliances in the Philippines, a new house. But there's the family room, and you can see with Lynn standing here in the middle of the living room, and then they have these side doors that open up, which is kind of an interesting way to do this. You've got the patio area and create some open area. And then now we're back to the family room. So this is really the place to me where you're going to spend most of your time. You're going to set up your couches, your media center, and all of that stuff. And then now we have this extra door that we go out and actually takes us outside for what they call a dirty kitchen. So you can do some combination of laundry out there, or also set up the actual dirty kitchen, which would be like a propane cooking. I don't know if you need to do that here, but you could do that. All right, so now we're back inside the main floor of the house, and you can see the entryway. There's a bathroom here on the first story. Actually, there's a lot of bathrooms in this house. There is a bathroom for every single room in the house, which adds up to a lot. I think maybe 5 bathrooms. So here's another look, looking at the family room. And then there is a bedroom there with a bathroom on the first floor. We'll come back to that. Here's the storage area underneath the stairs, which is really nice. They built it out. They added a window so you can actually see the space. And then we'll walk into this extra bedroom here downstairs. This would make a great office. Look how they did the windows, so it's so light and bright. That's very much a California style is what I would call that. We tend to, paint the interior some version of like a white or off-white. It's very popular with Swiss coffee, which is a little bit of a beige as the offset color for, trim. It's got a full shower here in this particular extra bedroom. We would use this as an office, but it's a nice space and it's right there close to the front door in case you get a delivery or whatever. And now let's go upstairs and kind of take a look at what you're going to see for the layout of the bedrooms. And again, this is the first really model I've seen that is more kind of Western and even like California new type lifestyle. So this is a landing area in front of the bedrooms. It's kind of interesting. It's a lot of open space from a design standpoint. It's not real practical as far as how you'll use it, but it then leads into the different bedrooms, which this is the master. And as you can see, a lot of space in the master. And another thing to look for here, look at all the electrical outlets near the floor. That is an issue here. There's something with the electric company that oftentimes they try to not put that many electrical outlets. So you really got to check that and make sure that they're there. The neighbor next door behind us decided to buy that whole lot and then put in an extra awning area. He probably is going to put cars there, I would guess. But here's what the master looks like. It's got all of these windows. So very light and bright. And now we're going to walk into the combination of like a walk-in closet and then leading to the balcony and then into the bathroom area. So very nice. So you have these French doors, very sliding doors, built-in cabinets. And here's what the bathroom looks like. So you have a sliding door, which is efficient, so it slides out of the way. A nice sized shower. And as you can see in the Philippines, they do a combination of a built-in shower handle itself and then like a faucet and then the actual shower, which is actually very convenient. Here's the overall look of the master bedroom. Very good size for the Philippines. This is very much to Western standards and new construction on a luxury home. Now we have the landing area again. Again, lots of windows, light and bright. And now we've got the 2 bedrooms. So I guess it's 3 bedrooms upstairs and then the 4th bedroom's downstairs, or you can use that as an office. And then again, each individual bedroom has its own bathroom. And that's the first floor plan I've seen in the Philippines that had that. Now we're looking into the bedroom. As you can see, it's good size. Good size space, lots of electrical outlets on the floor. Super happy about that. So you could use any room for your office to plug in your computer, your printer, and all of that. Now you go back out to the landing area, and then we'll turn right into the next bedroom. And you can see there's an outdoor, like an outward door, and then there's an inward door for the bathroom. So it still closes, which is kind of interesting. You can see it's got the full shower. And then the other bedroom. Nice size, lots of windows, light and bright, some built-in cabinetry, which you don't always find. That's more in the luxury part of the homes. One last look here into the master. And again at the neighbor next door. I bet you he's like an auto collector. I mean, why else would you build that big awning? All right, back downstairs. Let's see what we've got. Here's kind of the view coming back down the stairs towards the front door. Again, another bathroom. So yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bathrooms. And then there's also kind of an outdoor quarters area for a maid, which we looked at earlier. That was kind of the dirty kitchen. There was actually a locked door I couldn't show you, but there's another space there. So now we're going back out the front door. So what did you think of this layout? And what would you be willing to pay for this house? I'd be curious to know what this house would cost in your area. Please let me know in the comments field and say, hey, would you like this house? How much do you think you would pay in the Philippines? And how much would that house go for your neighborhood? And let us know where you are, okay? City and state. Or if you're in Canada, UK, whatever, let us know the area. Now you're probably wondering, now that I've had you guess how much you think it's going to actually cost, what is the actual pricing? The envelope, please. It feels like the Academy Awards or something. Who's the winner? Well, look, it's going to be a higher price tag due to the size of the house. It's about 35 square meters larger in just the house size alone. However, the lot is a lot larger. This lot is 388 square meters. The lot I think we were looking at in Panabo was about 200 square meters. So it's almost double the lot size. And that just gives you more yard space around the house. So that's a real preference for me. I felt it was a little bit too tight in the Royal Homes subdivision in Panabo. So the grand total actually is 25,187,000 pesos, or about $450,000 US when you use an exchange rate of 56 pesos to the dollar, right? Now in this case it includes the VAT, which is expensive. I think it's like 2.5 million pesos, and closing costs. In fact, the house itself is 21,500,000 pesos, or about 384,000 US dollars. And the VAT, which is the value added tax that goes to the government, was at 2.5 million pesos, which is $46,000. So that is something to consider. The closing costs were about 1 million pesos, a little bit more than that, equaling about 19,211 US. Now, as far as discounts go, the company did offer us a 5% discount, which would be about 1.1 million pesos off the original price. The original price itself without the taxes was 22.6 million pesos, which equals about 404,000 US. Now, I had to push for this discount, and I asked them to quote the very best possible price to save time because I was on my way to visit Lynn's family in another town, and we were actually leaving very quickly from there. Here's the thing. Discounts are going to vary by builder, and in this case, I feel like the discount range could be in the 5 to 10% range off the original asking price if you take it all the way to your negotiated signing phase, right? So if you've hung in there to the very end, I feel like you're going to be somewhere between 5 to 10% off the original asking price. In the case of primary homes back in Bohol, discounts came in the form of promotions, and that really depended upon the timing. For example, there was a 50,000 peso discount to sign up for the house before the models were actually open to the public. It was like an early signing bonus, and that's more how they work their discounts. There was a condo in Mactan near Cebu City that we really liked in a complex called Tambuli. And it's an expensive complex, so it's right on the beach, and it's got restaurants and everything else. But that particular property, if you paid the price, they offered you a new Toyota car. It was probably worth about 1 million pesos, and that was just part of the deal. If you went for the penthouse suite, which was of course a higher cost, it's going to be larger, it included a Ford Ranger Raptor. But again, those condos range from about 15 million all the way up to the highest was 25 million. And there's still, most of them are 1 bedrooms. When you got to the very high price, it either was a large 2-bedroom and maybe 1 or 2 3-bedrooms. But almost all of the units were either studio or 1 bedrooms. And really the max square feet, most units were between 40 and 60 square meters. Then on the luxury units at the highest prices, you got up to around 100 to 110 square meters. It's still not very big. Now when you compare that price to what you can get for these complexes I'm talking to you about, for half the price, you can get a very nice new house. And you'll see that in this video, and that's why we walked away from that finally. They offered a lot in order to get us to buy. It was interesting. So discounts are going to completely vary by builder, and they're just not going to be comparable. You're going to have to figure out what that builder typically does on the other complexes that they build. That's how you're going to find out the pricing. You just have to keep pushing and asking, what is the best price you can offer me in order for me to take this deal? That's the only way you're really going to find out what they're willing to do. And make sure that you ask for a discount, because that's what they call it here. Oh, what about a discount? As most buyers are able to attain that for a complex. And you got to find the right representative to ask in the right timing, someone that you can trust, that you feel is honest. That's what I did. I'll give you an example. On this Ameria property in the Davao area, I know that they will offer up to a 10% discount. So I had received a 5% discount, but I know that they can go further. How do I know this? Well, look, at the beginning of the process, there was this sales guy that was at the corporate office with the models and all that, the little models. And I felt like the guy was pretty straightforward. So I pulled him aside at one point away from the sales management, and I asked him, in this particular complex, on the negotiated prices, what typically do you see as a discount? And he told me it can range from 5 to 10%, depending upon who you're dealing with and what the buyer's asking for. So when I found out that 10% was possible, that became my target number. I would keep pushing until I got that number. So when we got to the offer stage, and I asked for the very best price to save time, I said, don't play all the games, just give me your very best price. The 5% for me that they offered, well, that's just the starting point. Now, since that time, it's been a few weeks since they made that offer. They now have a new promotion that includes a week-long trip for 2 to Europe. So you just never know. But one thing is for sure, don't respond too quickly. Let the conversation spread out over several days to a week. You need to see what they will do. And a large purchase like this, it's worthy of taking your time, right? And once they realize you're not going to pull the trigger emotionally right away, oh, I want that one, I'll pay whatever the price is. Once they get past that, then they know, okay, we're going to have to give a better deal to get this guy. So make sure you play that game that way. Talk to several people, look at several models, ask as many questions, come back another day. Don't do everything in one day. Now, let's talk about markets. Panglao and Davao are two completely different markets. So pricing is really going to vary between these two locations. And then within those locations, pricing is going to vary based upon competitors in the space, meaning other builders, other complexes. So you need to make sure that you check out these other builders and what the market value is and what the land cost is, because it may be slightly different. For example, Panglao is an island. So because of that, probably the price per square meter of the lot is higher than the Davao area, which has just land moving out either to the north or to the south, right? So less land available on a small island, you probably got a higher price per square meter if it's a super desirable area like Panglao. Now, one of the things you need to watch for is the quality and the reputation of the builder. Be sure to research that. Use ChatGPT or some other AI tool and check out the builder thoroughly before purchasing. Not all builders are trustworthy in the Philippines. You don't want to get scammed. There are builders that will gladly take your money and not deliver the quality product that you're looking for, and some won't even complete the project. They'll say, oh, not enough funds, and disappear on you. I recently came across a buyer that had been scammed. They actually hired a builder. They built 2 small houses on a separate lot that they owned, but they didn't thoroughly check them out, and they never really completed the project, and now they were trying to sell the lot and these 2 very small, awkward little houses. The other thing I want to talk about is whether living in a subdivision, is that for everyone? And I'd say no, it's probably not. Some people are going to want a much larger lot size and more land around their property. So that's kind of what they talk about here, is both lot size and then what is the floor space of the property. And you can do these separately. You can buy a lot first and then build later. So it's definitely another option to be considered. And I'll do some additional videos kind of covering that topic and that approach so you can kind of see how that's done here. And then the other thing I'll make some videos on is some of the existing home resales. So we've been looking at some of the existing homes to see, okay, in the Panglao and then the city close by, Tagbilaran, here in Bohol, what are the existing homes like? And they are really varied. It's not uniform, it's not consistent. So you can compare existing homes and new construction to each other to decide what's best for you within one complex, or compare complexes against each other. But the existing home market in the Philippines is just really different in the West. When it's not a new home construction, wow, it's kind of like whatever, anything goes. And the homes here are much smaller, and the neighborhoods are not as uniformed. So there are very few subdivisions. I mean, even in Panglao, in this nice area that we're living right now, that we're renting, there's only a few subdivisions on the whole island. I know we're used to more subdivisions in Western countries. That's kind of how they sell properties when they're new. Not like that in the Philippines. Well, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you learned something new, as we really enjoy checking out property in the Philippines. It's something we're interested in as kind of investors and looking for the best opportunities and return on our money. So we're looking ourselves for property right now. We're still trying to compare renting versus buying, new versus existing homes, a lot and building. So we're doing all this research ourselves. And so our intent here is simply to share it with you, because we're kind of like the boots on the ground for you to say, this is what's going on over here. So hopefully you can learn if it's something you're interested in, and then you can decide that. I think one of the detriments to buying new is this VAT tax. It can be very expensive on the property. This should give you a better idea of what real estate looks like in the Philippines and what new construction looks like. And we really like to travel from island to island to explore the Philippines. We're looking for the best place to live, and we just want to share this information with you. If you have questions or comments from this video, please let me know in the comment section, as I'll do my best to respond to every single comment. I really try to. And it's a real advantage for this kind of media on YouTube that you get to interact with the author of the video to further your understanding of whatever that topic is. So use that media, use those comment sections, let me know what you think, and then ask any questions, and I'll try to fill you in the best I can. All right, that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.